What is up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. It's good to be here with you again. Finally, again after all these damn weeks, a month. It's good to freaking be back. Let's just cut to the chase. Hello, happy Sunday. Woo, woo. How do you do this again? How do you live stream? Let's see. There's questions. You guys ask questions. I know that part. You ask the questions. I answer the questions. Blunty queues up the questions. Hey, Blunty, how's your queuing finger? Huh?
It seems to be fine. Going well so far.
Yeah, you feeling a little out of practice?
Yeah, we're fine. Not too bad.
It's gonna be fine.
I don't have to be on camera, so
yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm cutting off the top of my head. Hold on. I have to. There we go. There we go. I have to slouch a little. Welcome back, you guys. Thank you, Ghost Branch, for noticing we're trying something different out with the sound. So instead of nope, this one. There we go. Instead of having a mic in front of me, we're trying to. I'm going the opposite direction from what YouTubers are. All the YouTubers nowadays are holding like a big condenser mic in their hand. Sorry, Blunty, you should be good now. Me, I'm going the other way. I'm going for an overhead mic like a pro. Yeah? I don't know. I'm still deciding. I mean, I've gone to the trouble of mounting it on the wall, so I'm probably going to keep it. This mic was actually a gift from Fabio. Fabio and Maria came. One of the things I did while I was gone, Fabio and Maria came. You guys know about that. Was that this trip? That was a different trip. Jesus. No, that was June. That was in June. I have to look at my calendar. I don't even remember. He brought me this mic. We talked about it after. Yeah.
So it had to be in May because our last show was May 30th. Right. So that was May. Right. This is June. I've completely lost track of time. He brought me that microphone though. It's like a $400 microphone, and he was like, "Oh, you should get a microphone because like over in the back, over on there, I have to have an overhead. I can't have anything in the shot because I'm using my hands all the time. So that has the overhead shotgun." And he was like, "Just think, if you had a matching shotgun mic for the desk, then your audio would be consistent between the desk and the bench." And I was like, I'm not going to spend $400 on that. So he actually bought it for me as a present. So I'm probably going to keep it. I don't know. How's it sound? Probably a little different. But yeah. Anyway, that's not what we're here for, though. We're here to take your questions. We're here to answer your questions about FPV. And we're going to see if I remember a damn thing about FPV. I have been doing FPV stuff since you guys last saw me, so I've not just been vacationing. So let's take questions. We got a bunch of questions queued up. We're going to start taking them. We'll start with this question from Notice, who asks, 1S batteries, are they garbage, or is my gear lying about what full charge is? Charger says 4.35 volts. Whoop says 4.2 when it's plugged in. How can I trust a low voltage warning? I've noticed this too, and it drives me crazy. So the first thing I would say is that if you really want to know, you got to get out a multimeter. Like a charger is usually going to be pretty accurate, but especially a tiny whoop charger, sometimes they're not as calibrated and you can't really trust them quite as much. If you really want to know, pull out a multimeter and measure the voltage on the battery with a multimeter. The other thing you got to keep in mind is that the charger is charging to 4.35 volts. But the way that charging a battery works is, think about this. If the battery is at, say, 3.8 volts,
if you apply 3.8 volts across the leads of the battery, how much current will flow? The answer is none. Because you got 3.8 volts here and 3.8 volts here, they're balanced. If you think about it, there's no potential difference to cause current to flow. So in order to charge the battery, what the charger does is it increases the voltage across the terminals of the battery. And when the voltage is higher on the charger side than the battery side, current flows into the battery and the battery charges up. And what the charger does is it manipulates the voltage it's applying to the battery to cause current to flow. So you get whatever 1 amp, 2 amp, half an amp, whatever you want. It adjusts that, okay? So what happens at the end of the charge cycle? Because it's really important to not overcharge the battery, right? The battery has to stay below 4.2 volts or 4.35 volts if it's a high volt LiPo. What happens is that as the voltage the charger is applying, so the battery's at 3.8 volts, the charger applies, let's say, 3.9 volts. Current starts flowing. The battery starts coming up. As the battery comes up, the charger increases the voltage it's applying to maintain the current going into the battery. But as the charger reaches 4.35 volts, now it doesn't want to increase that voltage anymore. And so what happens is it switches and it holds 4.35 volts. And as the battery continues to charge up, the current going into the battery goes down and down. Okay? So what you can see is that we've got, if you're familiar, are you familiar with Zeno's paradox from Greek philosophy? I'm not gonna dive into it. But this is a Zeno's paradox situation. If the charger is at 4.35 volts, then the battery can never reach 4.35 volts. Because as the battery approaches 4.35 volts, the voltage difference goes down, and so the current flow goes down. So the battery, over time, it slowly and slowly increases. And what happens is that the charger monitors the amount of current that is flowing, and when it gets below a certain amount, it stops the charge cycle and says the battery's fully charged. But the battery's not actually at 4.35. It might be at 4.34. What I do, and I'm not saying this is a good idea, I set all my chargers to like 4.21. And then that ensures that the battery's actually at 4.2 when the charge cycle is done. On higher end chargers, you can actually adjust this threshold where the charger goes, fine, the charge cycle is done. Right? You can adjust that. And it'll take longer to finish it off, and it'll get it closer and closer to that final 4.2 or 4.35 volt threshold. So my first question would be, when the batteries come off the charger, are they really at 4.35 volts? Or if it's the charger being a little bit lazy and it's stopping the charge cycle early because it's just not that sophisticated? And then the other thing I would wonder is the flight controller miscalibrated? The other thing you should keep in mind, though, is if you've got a PH 2.0 connector, there can be significant voltage drop in the PH 2.0 connector. And I know that when you first plug the battery in and the motors aren't spinning, there's very little current flow, and so there should be very little voltage drop. But I would want to actually plug the battery in and measure the voltage at the flight controller. Not just measure the battery voltage before I plugged it in, and I would verify that all that stuff was accurate. So, very interesting question. It's always bugged me as well. Good. We'll start with a super nerdy question about battery voltage. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. Let's see here. Wow. Oh, we got a ton of questions. Thank you guys. I did myself a disservice. I got to remind you guys, if you guys want to make sure that I read your question, hit the $ right down here. Hit the $, leave a super chat. We take questions from the regular chat. We take questions from the Discord as well. We kind of prioritize the Discord a little bit, although there's more people in the regular chat, so we just get more questions from the regular chat. But the Discord people are my patrons, so try to give them a little special priority. But if you leave a super chat, that's the #1 way to be sure that we're going to read your chat, and we'll get to those just a little bit later in the stream. See, Blunty, that's what I need to get me back in the groove, is like a nerdy question about battery voltage.
We got some questions coming in about the DJI ban. Let's talk briefly, well, I don't know how briefly. We'll try to talk briefly about the DJI ban. Does the DJI ban mean I have to get new goggles, different VTX, etc.? Or we had a question, there was another question. Where was it? It was about the CCP Drones Act. Blunty, maybe you didn't cue it. Maybe I just saw it in the regular chat.
It's not an accurate question, so I didn't cue it.
Okay, fair enough. What is the DJI? Well, so first of all, what is the DJI ban? The DJI ban in general refers to a couple of bills that are making their way through Congress that would have the effect of limiting the ability of American consumers to get access to DJI drones. Just to recap the current state of play, again, as briefly as possible, because this is a long and ongoing situation. Currently, the federal government has limited, and some state governments has restricted the ability of federal government employees to use DJI drones. And that's well within their purview. If you're a federal agency and you want to say your employees may not use DJI drones, obviously you can tell your employees what they can and can't do. If you're a member of the military and the government says you can't use DJI drones, that's their prerogative. But when it comes to saying that citizens can't use or buy DJI drones, that is a step that hasn't been taken yet. And I think before we discuss the individual bills in question, I think it really deserves to be noted how significant that move is. Because, there are a lot of things that the government maybe wouldn't like you to have, but for them to say, we are going to prohibit your ability to import and buy these things is pretty extraordinary. And it's not unprecedented, right? Chinese toothpaste with lead in it, right? There's all kinds of, meat that has been deemed unhealthy, food products that are unhealthy. There's all kinds of things that the government says you're not allowed to import these things into the cars that don't pass emissions inspections that are going to be driven on public roads. There's all kinds of things that the government says, well, you're not allowed to have them. But boy, if you compare those things to DJI drones, it sure is unusual. Because all of the things that are prohibited, there is an argument that they present a danger to public health, to public safety. And people are making that argument about DJI drones. And I think there's a very good question of, what's going on here? Are DJI drones a threat to public safety and public health? Some people have the perspective that the Chinese government is hostile to the United States interests. They anticipate increasing tension or maybe even active conflict with the Chinese government. And they say, we have all these little flying robots with cameras and internet connectivity, and we're worried. We're worried. About what? We don't know. We just don't like it. And okay. Well, that's perspective. There's also people who say that there is absolutely no actual evidence of any of this happening. It's all theoretical. It's all DJI could do this, but they're not. And then there's other people who say, look, if all these lawmakers are it's one thing to say that specific lawmaker is just a xenophobic, they're just trying to stir up trouble for their reelection, and they're making an enemy out. Oh, the big bad China. It's one thing to say that, but when you've got bipartisan support for this kind of thing, some people are saying, what do they know? What do they know that they're not telling us? Maybe there's some fire underneath that smoke. We don't know. All of these are just perspectives that people have expressed, and we just don't know the truth. What we do know is that there seems to be a lot of momentum, starting with, we're not going to let federal agencies and the military and some states, we're going to prevent their employees from using DJI drones, to now there are bills in progress that would prevent people from buying and using DJI drones. So what are these bills? What are these bills? But by the way, yeah, good point. You know what else has camera and internet connectivity? Duh, my phone. All of your iPhones were made in China. Oh, yeah, but they were made by Apple. They weren't made by a company that's beholden to the Chinese government. Oh, you think so? You think so? Do you think any company is operating in China without potential? Anyway, that's a topic. Never mind. That's not a topic I'm qualified to comment on, so I'll shut the hell up. Just saying. It's interesting that DJI is being singled out and not like Apple. Wonder why. Anyway. One of the bills is the Countering CCP Drones Act, which would add DJI and any DJI affiliate or associate. I'm not sure I don't remember the exact wording. It would add DJI to a prohibited entities list. And basically, the takeaway, and you have to do a lot of reading to kind of wend your way through the bills, but the takeaway is that it would prohibit them from using federal infrastructure. That's the gist of it. And people who are better than me at interpreting laws have said that that would mean that they would no longer be able to get Part 15 certification. And Part 15 certification is what lets the DJI devices operate on the 2.4 and the 5.8 gigahertz spectrum without needing a ham license. So at the very least, what this would mean is that new devices would not get Part 15 certification. They wouldn't be allowed to. And so one way to interpret this bill is that new devices wouldn't be sold in the United States, but existing devices that already have their Part 15 certification would be fine. And I think that is probably the most sane reading of this bill. But in today's world, who sanity doesn't always prevail. So if you're asking me today to lay out the most likely scenario if this bill passes, which is not guaranteed that it'll pass, but the most likely scenario is that your existing stuff continues to work, as it always has, and that new stuff has to jump through some hoops in order to make it into the United States market. I don't know what those hoops might be. Some people have said, well, DJI should just license their stuff to an American company. And in fact, there is an American company out there that has licensed some DJI stuff. DJI is already doing this. But because the wording specifically says any affiliated entity, I don't remember the exact wording, it seems to my layperson's reading like simply licensing your technology to an American company and manufacturing in the U.S. would not get you out of this, regardless. The other bill in question is that was the Countering CCP Drones Act. The other one is the Drones for First Responders Act. And this one is actually in some ways more insidious. What the Drones for First Responders Act does is it adds a tariff to drones, not just DJI drones. Blunty, is that right? It's not just DJI drones. Is it just DJI drones?
It's
Chinese drones. All Chinese drones. It adds tariffs to them, and the tariffs start out not that big, but still noticeable and get bigger and bigger and bigger until, do you remember the max number off the top of your head, Blunty?
It's 100% plus $200 or something like that.
Yeah. It's a lot. So, and that's scales in over the course of several years. But one thing about the tariffs is that they start immediately, whereas the CCP Drones Act, most likely they would say, okay, we're going to phase this in over the course of a couple of years, and you would have some time to figure out what to do. None of these are good. None of these are good, and they all represent a problem for people who are flying drones. For hobbyists, like, absolutely, the CCP Drones Act would prohibit, for example, the DJI O4 Air unit from getting Part 15 certification, assuming it doesn't already have it, which I don't think it does. Like, or whatever comes next. It would absolutely, for people who think, oh, this only affects, camera drones, it doesn't affect, like, FPV drones. No, not true. Not true. Sorry, I'm adjusting. My mic is clipping slightly. I don't know if you guys hear it. I see it in the monitor, and I'm adjusting it. So sorry if my volume changes slightly. It drives me crazy seeing clip. I can't see a meter clip. It's not acceptable. I guess there's a brick wall limiter. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter. Okay. So this absolutely will affect hobbyists, not just people buying camera drones, FPV hobbyists for sure. The other thing is that it affects people like if you don't work for the federal government, but you do a contract that involves a federal entity, you're going to be bound by some of this stuff. It's going to really make problems for you. So what do we do? The truth is, I don't know. Like there are people who are advocating against this. More power to them. There's the Drone Advocacy Alliance, Blunty? What's the name? Do you know?
For what?
The Drone Advocacy Alliance, I think is they're called.
Are you talking about DJI's formed alliance against this?
Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure what we're asking for. I'm sorry.
It's the Drone Advocacy Alliance. Did DJI invent that?
Yes, it's DJI backed.
Well, naturally. I guess naturally.
The federal government is trying to shut it down because they say it's a Chinese operation to block U.S. law.
I mean, it's so freaking weird, Blunty, to hear that because, like, if you are a foreign country operating in the United States and you lobby the U.S. government, then you are by definition a foreign entity trying to affect U.S. law.
They did not form a 501c6 as far as I know, and this is not an official organization. Like I think the problem is that it's lobbying by proxy and they're not officially organized to lobby. But I'm not. That's my understanding of the argument.
All right.
Anyway.
Regardless. This, to me, as I understand it, is one of the leading entities trying to fight this and lobbying against this. Maybe it'll get shut down. I don't know. Blunty, is the FPV Freedom Coalition taking this up? FPV Freedom Coalition is Blunty's organization.
What up?
Are you guys like working this issue actively, or are you not?
No.
No, you are
We're
not.
not a lobbying organization, so we're not able to lobby against it.
Yeah, but like you might, with remote ID, FPV Freedom Coalition was leading some activism, some public activism, saying here, write letters to your Congress people, etc. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
We currently don't have a public stand.
Okay, fair enough. We'll just close that window. Can go.
I mean, we may or may not be doing something but we're not you know what I mean? We're not part of the DAA, and we're not officially. We don't have anything publicized. So
Understood. You can contact your representatives. I've heard very mixed things from people who've contacted their representatives. Some of them reply and say, "Thank you for contacting me about the CCP Drones Act. I agree that Chinese drones are a threat to American sovereignty." And the person's like, "Wait, I told you I didn't support it. This is just a form letter." Thank you, you son of a... At least one person I know of got a response that said, yeah, I agree this is a problem. I'm not going to support this. But the thing is, it seems to me that the winds are blowing a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, first it was, we're not going to let federal entities use DJI. And I was like, that's interesting. But I kind of got it. Like... If you're a member of the military and you use DJI drones for your job, which absolutely was happening, and then theoretically some general somewhere is thinking, well, look, I got to cover all the bases. What if we went to war with China? Not that we're going to, but like somebody's job is to sit in a room and think of all the worst case scenarios and then decide how that would affect our posture. And they went, all these people, all of these soldiers, airmen, Marines, etc., sailors, all of them who are using DJI drones would potentially lose access to a tool that they've come to rely on. Oops, that's a vulnerability. We need to stop that. So when they said that like the military couldn't use DJI, I was kind of like, I see it. I see why you might make that decision. The military isn't allowed to do a lot of shit that the rest of us do because of who they are. When they said that federal agencies couldn't do it, I was like, well, damn, we've got crash investigators. We've got search and rescue. We've got wildlife management. We've got all these federal agencies, and they're losing access to an incredibly powerful tool. And it's kind of weird, right? I thought that was kind of weird. And now we've got the CCP Drones Act, which when I first heard of it, I was like, there's no freaking way this is going to pass. They're not just going to ban a specific company from the U.S. market with no evidence. And it's moving towards passing. And then right on its heels comes this other drones for first responders. And I'm like, okay, guys, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing here. The wind is blowing a certain direction, and it doesn't look freaking good for DJI. That's what I have to say. That's what I have to say. So even if these don't pass, I would be concerned about, the same people trying to pass similar ones. And there's some chance that these will pass. Fly High FPV says F for Red Cat. What does this have to do with Red Cat?
Somebody in chat above mentioned by Red Cat. Did you see the most confusing thing I've ever seen? Did you see the announcement they made about unusual machines?
No. What was it?
So you know how we were like, I bet they're divesting unusual machines.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in the Discord. I bet they're divesting unusual machines so it can be recreational, right? And they can do all the commercial non-military stuff at unusual machines. Well, guess what? Unusual machines selected to provide the first drone for Red Cat's first line of first-person view lethal strike systems. So it wasn't that at all.
Red Cat's first-person view lethal strike systems.
They
unusual machines.
Them off to be on like a development house or something for them. Like,
so they've got what they've got. I mean, I don't know, but it looks to me like what they've got is the FPV side, where they're doing like FPV lethal strike systems, whatever. And then they've got like the teal drone side where they're doing like
camera
drones, reconnaissance drones, etc. That's my guess. I don't know.
For anybody in chat who doesn't know, Unusual Machines is made up of Fat Shark and Rotor
Riot. Yeah. Alan Evans. Yeah, there was that video that came out. Where's that video? Is it on? It's on Red Cat, but you can't search for Red Cat on YouTube because there's that other RC company named Red Cat. By the way, terrible choice of name. Where was that video? Red Chip. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. See, if I just search for Red Cat. Which drone? Will I find it? Red Cat Teal Drones multi-drone system in action. That's a teal thing. Red Cat Holdings. There you go.
Red Cat's pretty.
Welcome to the family. This is the one. Look at this. Oh, what is that? Oh. Very interesting. Welcome to the family. What? Teal drones. So this will not include Rotor Riot, except that looks like a Rotor Riot drone. I don't know what the hell that is. Huh. There you go. What a world. What a world. I have no idea why they're allowing. Why is no one moderating these comments? That's the other thing that's confusing to me. Like obviously this is corporate marketing, right? I don't say that like it's a bad thing. It's just an observation. This is clearly corporate marketing. If it's corporate marketing, you should be banning BotGrinder from your YouTube channel. Like, there's no reason to, like, you're not trying to build a community around your company. You're trying to sell drones to defense contractors, or you're trying to be a defense contractor or whatever. There's no reason. There's no reason to let these comments stand. Hey, Red Cat, run your YouTube channel more like a big corporation who's trying to make money, and less like, I don't know. They only have 2.9K views and 500 subscribers, so who knows. Anyway, interesting. I mean, you could just have comments. You could just turn comments off on that video. I don't know. There's no reason. What a world. So, DJI ban. My opinion is that if this one doesn't go through, they're going to keep trying to get a different one go through until they get whatever they actually want. I don't think that I'm skeptical that their actual concern is like information security. I don't know what it is, but like just banning them from. And the final thing to say about this is that there's nothing out there that's as good as DJI. So people are like, well, what's the alternative? Everything else is so much worse. Sorry. So you're compromising the capabilities of like people spraying pesticides in their fields or fertilizer, people searching for frickin' dogs, lost dogs with a thermal camera. You're compromising all these capabilities, fire departments. You're making them work with significantly worse, significantly more expensive tools. And it's like, here's my thing, even if you stipulate that DJI is a threat to like that China is a hostile actor who will somehow use DJI drones to do illicit things. I don't know what they would be, but even if you stipulate that, you have to say, okay, so we're going to hamstring every fire department in the United States. Is it worth it? And you have to at least ask that question. And I wonder if anybody's actually looking at the other side of this. Anyway. Was that short? That wasn't very short. But I thought it was worth. That's going to make a great clip for the Livestream Clips channel, Blunty. Aren't you glad I'm back?
Yes.
Let's see here. Let's do super chats. We just got a few super chats, but I'll go ahead and read them. If you guys want to get your question answered promptly, the way to do it is to leave a super chat, basically like right now. And I'll read it, like pretty much right now. Here we go. Roxith HR says, thank you for 400 rupees. I have DJI Goggles 2 and a 5-inch drone, but I need something smaller in 1S or 2S category, compatible with Goggles 2 to fly indoor or just outside my house purely for the flying experience. So the challenge, Roxith, is that the O3 is heavy. And so there's basically no good 1S drones. There is a good 2S. My favorite micro drone with the O3 in it is the Flyloo Flylens 85. And this is the O3 Lite version, which has a naked DJI O3 in it. They took the metal plates off, so it saves even a little more weight. It reduces the durability some, so you should think about whether you really want to do this. But it's a little 2S 85mm micro that flies about as good as anything with the DJI will. Okay. If the CCP bill was made retroactive, thank you for $5, Jonathan Turner. If it was made retroactive, do you think this would spark a class action for illegal takings from the Fourth Amendment? They tried that with remote ID and failed, but not on the basis of the illegal takings argument, but on the basis that the damage was theoretical. So because remote ID had not yet gone into effect, there had been no harm done, and therefore no suit could be brought. That is my understanding of the federal the federal judges made when Race Day Quad sued the FAA over remote ID. Theoretically, if that case was brought today, would it have more merit? I don't know. It's tricky. I think it's a long shot. Here, I think maybe it's more clear. If it was made retroactive, then you're talking about, I don't know how many drones. It's a lot.
Like, it's certainly tens of thousands, maybe more than tens of thousands. It's a lot of DJI drones that would theoretically lose access. People would be deprived of them. And I think that's why that's probably not going to happen. Because to say to somebody, you can't have something that you never had in the first place, people are more willing to tolerate that. But if you say, I'm going to take away from you something that you already have, that gets people angry. So never mind the fact also that even if the federal government said, this is retroactive, no DJI drone may fly in the United States. Okay? How are they going to enforce that? DJI would have to force a firmware update that geofence the United States. The federal government, I don't think they're going to be able to what are they going to do? Ban them from the United States? They already did the worst thing they could possibly do. Right? Well, I guess they could sanction them or something. I don't know. But even if the federal government did try to make it retroactive, which I don't think they will, because of what a shit show that would be, I think DJI would have to be complicit in enforcing that, and I don't see why DJI would do that. So. But what they could do is they could say, you're not allowed to fly DJI drones. If you're caught flying one, we're going to fine you. But at that point, how are they going to get the word out about that? I don't know. It seems very iffy that it would be retroactive. So I don't think it will. Yaros Mallorca, thank you for 10 euros. My friend switched from analog to DJI 03 on his Nazgul, and now LQ is down to 70, regularly goes down to 20 at 50 meters distance, but it doesn't fail safe. How do you determine what's wrong? Well, the first thing I would do is I would unplug the 03 air unit so it's not powered up. And then I would just fly the drone line of sight, or even just set your controller on a table. Don't set it down on the ground because the antennas will be sort of buried in the ground. Set your controller on a table and hold the drone and walk away and look in your goggles at what the LQ is doing and see if the 03 is the cause. The fact that you mentioned switching to the 03 makes me think the 03 is the cause. So let's look into that. Dries de Hont, thank you for 11.99 euros. What's the best way to give you a one-time donation, Patreon or YouTube? Dries, Patreon is a subscription, so it's a little, you can just subscribe for 1 month and then unsubscribe, but it's a little clunky to do a one-time donation via Patreon. YouTube, if you leave a super chat, YouTube takes a percentage of the super chat, and of course they have every right to that because they run the whole platform that makes my career possible, so I don't begrudge them that. But if you're asking what gets me the most amount of money, it's actually just send me PayPal. I have a public PayPal address, and you can just PayPal me, and many people do every month. It's jb@joshuabardwell.com, and if you just send money to that via PayPal, PayPal takes a tiny percent of it, but it's a very small percent. But if it's convenient for you to super chat, by all means do it. I don't begrudge you. YouTube is entitled to every penny because of the great platform that they provide. Don Huevo, thank you for a $5 super chat. How would you choose to build a remote-controlled FPV all-wheel drive lawnmower? Don Huevo. I've actually thought about that question. Why am I on this screen? I should be on this screen. Oops, sorry about that. I've thought about this because, I spend a lot of time mowing my lawn, and I like FPV stuff, but I don't know how comfortable I would be building a robotic machine that could cut somebody's freaking leg off or injure somebody. So you have to be real careful about it. I got to tell you, I would start with the chassis of a push mower, right? Because the chassis of a push mower, it's got the deck, it's got the motor, it's got the blade, that's all ready to go. And then I would build a vehicle around that, as opposed to starting with an RC vehicle and trying to build a lawnmower on top of that. To me, that seems like the way to go. But I don't know, it would require fabrication. What stops me from doing it is it requires fabrication skills that I kind of don't have. But you would have to build a steering rack, Matter Hatter. You'd have to build a steering rack. You know? A big old frickin' servo. Now, if you really wanted to do it,
you could use a riding mower. You could do it with a riding mower, and you could rig some kind of a stepper motor up to the wheel so that you turn the wheel and you push the freaking pedal. That guy kind of like that idea, actually. That's terrifying, because man, if a riding mower goes wacko, well, you could really mess some shit up. Anyway. Bryce, thank you for a $20 super chat. First FPV, 03, I like the idea of long range with the LR4 for exploring, but I'm also eyeing the Flylens 85 just to fly for fun. Big fan of the Flylens 85. Played some sim time, but don't want to buy the LR4 and break it my first flight. I currently have nothing. Yeah, you're not wrong. The LR4 is not that durable. It's a long range. I think a 3 or 3.5 inch is a great choice. There's the Gep RC 3.6, the Domain. So, like, currently, the place this seems to go is something like the Gep RC Domain 3.6. This size is powerful and agile enough to be fun to fly, but not so big and fast and heavy that they're gonna, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not volunteering for you to hit me in the head with it, but like, it's less likely to cause damage or injury if you crash, and they're a little bit quieter. There's an Axis flying one, the Manta 3.6, that looks interesting. You know, there's a couple of them out there, but I would look for something like this in the I would say 3.5, but now it's 3.6 inch. Many of these even come in under 250 grams, so you don't need to worry about registration. So that's the direction I would steer you. Oh my God. Stop. Oh my God. Turn off all notifications. Jesus Christ. All right. Pimem, thank you for a $5 super chat. In Black Box Explorer, in frequency versus throttle, I have black horizontal lines above 70% throttle. What could cause that? So if you're looking at frequency versus throttle, a vertical line is a frequency at which you have energy regardless of throttle position. So a vertical line is resonance, okay? Resonance, I know you asked about horizontal lines, but a vertical line means that regardless of the RPM of the motors, we see a peak of energy at this frequency, and that's resonance. Now, the resonance will get stronger or weaker depending on how close the motor frequency is to the resonant frequency, but it's going to resonate at that frequency a little bit anytime there's energy present. Okay? A horizontal line would say that at a certain throttle position, there was extremely broadband noise, like from 1000 hertz all the way down to 0 hertz. There's nothing that causes horizontal lines, in my opinion, other than a bad gyro, because there's no real physical phenomena that would cause vibration from 1000 hertz all the way down to, 0 hertz. Anytime there's black horizontal line. Now, black horizontal lines, good point, Kilo Zebra. Is it a blank area? That just means there's no data at that throttle position. Okay? That just means that you didn't spend any time at that throttle position. Like, your flight was just too short. So black horizontal line, yes. If you've got horizontal peaks, I guess that would be colored lines, and that's not what you asked for. But if you got colored horizontal lines, that's a bad gyro, in my opinion. Can you build a sub 250 gram 3-inch freestyle drone? Thank you for $5 Canadian, Translive Canada. Yeah, 3 to 3.5 inch is pretty easy to get under 250 grams.
It's not even really a challenge. There's like a bunch of bind and fly 3 inches that are under 250 grams. So it's not even like really a challenge. It just is. That's the optimal size for a sub 250 in my opinion. Pamem, if they're blank, that just means you didn't have any data at that throttle position. Ramp your throttle more slowly. Yeah. All right. We use the motors and base of a mobility scooter. That's an interesting idea. Repurpose. You still have to fabricate the frame, though. I feel like you'd have to fabricate the frame. Once upon a time, you used to weld, but don't weld anymore. It's been a long time since I welded. So fabricating the frame is probably where I would slow down. Yeah. Deny FPV, thank you for a £5 super chat. I got the TX16S Max 4-in-1 and got an Emax Aeris ELRS 2.4G module. What do I need to make it work? You just plug the module into the back of the TX16S, and there's some configuration you need to do, but just plug it in. You don't need any, you need a drone. I'm going to guess that's not what you're asking about, though. Or just buy an RC lawnmower. Well, that's not any fun. Is that a thing?
Yeah, they even have FPV ones, but they're not cheap.
Well, I can FPV freaking anything, dude. That's easy. RC electric 4x4 remote control kit for Ego 56-volt lawnmower. What? It's a $1,500 RC kit to add to. It doesn't include the lawnmower. I'm in the wrong line of business. Holy shit. I could be selling. This is such a. Oh my God. Okay, this is probably like a $500 battery. I don't know. No, that's only 20 amp hours. Never mind. This guy is selling for $1,500? Shut the hell up. This guy's making a killing. Wow. How do you install it? I got a new business model. Well, that's adorable. Do they have installation instructions? I'm curious, like what? Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Effortless lawn maintenance. Tired of spending hours pushing a lawnmower around your yard? No, I love it. I love spending hours pushing a lawnmower around my yard. It's fantastic. It's like hiking, except I'm actually getting something done instead of just walking.
Wouldn't you rather walk behind it with the controller?
No, I like pushing it. That gives me exercise. That gives me exercise.
Yeah, you're a little crazy on that one.
What? I like exercise. Well, not that much. I don't like exercise that much. Don't get me wrong.
I'll stick to my riding lawnmower, thank you.
Yeah, but then, like, what do you do for exercise? Not that I'm judging. This is great because I can say I exercised today.
There are other things to do.
I'm going to spend an hour mowing. I may as well get some exercise out of it. I don't know. It's my opinion. It's my philosophy. Autopilot, cruise control, 1 button, 0 turn. Don't run over the dog! Tilt rollover sensor. Oh, wow. Up to 75. That guy ain't walking up no 75% slope. That's for sure. No, sir. Look, he's already sweaty just standing there. You see him? Oh, my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, take a quiz. No, thank you. Automatic grass dumping.
I just know, like, for my yard, for instance, like, there's no chance I could ever have anything automated and mow it.
No.
Because it's not, like, a clean, nice yard.
Yeah,
you know, like, there's, like, stumps and things you have to go around and special places you have to slow down or pick the deck up, you know, stuff like that.
I'm not paying $4,000 for an RC mower. You buy a fairly nice riding mower for that much. I'm just going to ride it. Anyway, very cool. I see that there's a lot of riding of RC. Oh, hold on. But I will pay $40,000 for this one. Yes. Okay, now this is worth the money. Okay. Give me one of these. I want one of these. 40 grand. That's money well spent. Okay. All right. Thank you for the Radio Master TX12 or Boxer. Thank you, Bacon Gaming, for 20 South Singapore. South that SEK is Singapore, I think. No, Swedish kroner. SEK is kroner. My bad. I'm out of practice. Radio Master TX12 or Boxer. Personally, I take the Boxer. I like the full-size gimbals. It doesn't have as many switches as the TX12, I don't think. But I fly the Boxer as my daily, so that's my answer. All right. Let's set aside the Super Chats for a bit and go back to the regular questions. Oh. Okay. I'm new to the FPV hobby and I can't decide between the Fat Shark Echo and the SkyZone Cobra S. I want to use them in a sim, so I wonder if a normal HDMI to AV adapter will work on the Fat Shark Echo. An HDMI to AV adapter will work, but because the Fat Shark Echo has an AV input, if I remember correctly. Does the Cobra S have an AV input? I can't remember. The Cobra S. I mean, whoa, $250 for the Cobra S. No, that's the Cobra X. Cobra S is apparently out of stock. Like, it doesn't exist? Cobra SD. Maybe the SD has replaced the Cobra S. Does it have an AV input? Video audio cable. That suggests it has an AV input. Here, hang on. DC in, head tracker, AV input does.
I'll just say that listing looks a little weird. Maybe it's showing you the right thing, but if you look up, the specs still say Cobra X V2. So.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the picture of the Cobra SD, which I don't know what the SD must be diversity. It does have two antennas. Maybe did the S have diversity? No, Cobra S did have diversity. What's the SD? I don't know. But it does have the AV input on the white one. The black one is the X, which also has the AV input. So they all have AV input. Yay. HDMI adapter to AV is going to add latency. Some people do it and think it's okay, but you should know it's going to add latency and that's going to affect your ability to sim. I got to tell you, I'd rather just fly the sim looking at the screen. I know it doesn't feel as immersive, but it gets the lowest latency possible compared to like HDMI input to a goggles, especially if you have a gaming monitor, and like it's fine. And I got to say, sitting there with goggles on my face for just hours at a time while I sim gets pretty old. So, will the HDMI to AV adapter decrease the quality of the sim? Yeah, because the AV input is standard definition analog. It will decrease the quality of the sim for sure. What goggles should I pick for my first FPV goggle? Well, the Echo is inexpensive. I think the SkyZone Cobra is a better goggle. It has a better receiver for sure. It's got the SkyZone receiver, which is quite good, but it's going to be more expensive. So it's just a question of how much money you want to pay. Zach Bailey got a GEP-RC Darkstar with a shaky, vibrating camera. That usually means the camera is loose in its mount. So that's the first thing I would check. Any info on the Walksnail mobile app for the goggles? No one has any info about that. Right? Blunty, I know Madstech just did a video about Walksnail, and I'm guessing that he was like, hey, Walksnail, where's all this shit you said you were going to do? I didn't watch the whole video. I just read the comments. Do you know anything about that?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, so like I know people on Facebook were kind of up in arms like, hey, Walksnail, didn't you say that Gen 2 of your RC link, of your RF link, was coming in August of 2024 and was going to have like 20 kilometers range, and you have a module circuit board that goes in the Goggles X that'll allow people to upgrade 20 kilometers range, the next best thing. And people are like, well, June, it's now almost July, June, July, August. Well, it's almost August. Hey, Cadix, how's that going? We haven't heard anything about that. And I'm like, yeah, you think? And when the Goggles X first came out, I said, like, I'm not going to be able to find you a clip of this, but I know that I said, do not buy the Goggles X based on the promise of something that they will do in the future. Right? Don't do it. Buy them based on what they are today. And if they get better in the future, nice. But you just don't know. No, that's not a dig on Cadix or Walksnail. All companies do this. Some are worse than others. But all companies are like, oh, we've got a new product coming out. And actually, not all companies do it. Like some, I just thought of DJI. DJI is like, here's our thing. Do you like it? Good, buy it. And they don't tell you shit about what's coming. In fact, and that's the opposite side of the coin. Because DJI is like, we're like, hey, DJI, can you fix this bug? And they're like, no comment. And then sometimes they fix the bug. But Walksnail's direction is, hey, look at all this cool shit we're going to do. And then sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. So no, that you know the Android app that's going to connect to the Wi-Fi on the Goggles X that they said they were going to make? Oh, I haven't made it yet. And that Gen 2 RF link that's going to get 20 kilometers of range? No news. I'm going to guess it's not coming in August. Probably. I'm not mad about it. I never expected it to happen in the first place. And I still think the Goggles X are worth buying in their current state, if you fly Walksnail. But if you were, you know, it's like the meme, your first time, right? No, it's not my first time. It's not my first time. I didn't expect those things to come true, and so I'm not disappointed that they haven't come true. So. And if you want to be mad about it and hold Cadix's feet to the fire and say, you promised us this thing, where is it? More power to you. That's just not my personal crusade. Will I get reduced latency benefit in Express LRS using outdated hybrid switch mode as opposed to the wide switch mode, if I don't really need the resolution of wide mode? MSVCHK, the latency of the control channels is the same, but the refresh rate of the aux channels is different. Okay? That's what I believe is the correct answer of that. Is the Firefly Baby Nano 20 considered a tiny whoop or not? Let's put that up on screen. I wouldn't call this a tiny whoop. To me, a tiny whoop has integrated ducts integrated in the frame, regardless of whether it's a 65, 75, or 85 millimeter. I think that once you get above 85 millimeter, I don't think you got a tiny whoop anymore. It's not tiny. That's where I draw the line. But I think that the Firefly is pretty clearly like in the toothpick category is where I would put it. Which is a tiny whoop. The original toothpick was literally a tiny whoop that someone took the ducts off of and made a carbon frame for and made it so it would fly around without, a little more agile. So I'd call it a toothpick, personally. Is the Nazgul X5 Eco a good beginner drone? Jelmer Tepema wants to know. Nazgul X5 Eco. Let's look at it. The Nazgul X5 Eco is a new budget line from iFlight. $200. $200 without a receiver. With a receiver, $215. It's a pretty freaking good deal. To get a freaking analog, now that's analog, obviously. To get an analog bind and fly for 200 freaking bucks in 2024, like, that's insane. Even analog is $280, $300 most of the time. I actually bought one of these. It's still in the box. I haven't gotten around to it, but I bought one of these to review because I think it's such a, good deal. Now, they're cutting corners somewhere, right? Obviously. They're cutting corners. It's the AT chip in the flight controller. It's a BL Heli S ESC these days. That's a good thing. But, that's fine. That's fine. It's, it still works. It still flies. It's a 1.6 watt VTX. That's a pretty good deal. Zing E Pro motors. Great motors. I think this is an incredible... This is probably... Now, I haven't taken it out of the box and flown it yet. But based on iFlight's reputation and based on, what they've done, just the quality that they usually make, I think this is likely a hell of a good deal. And I'm very excited for it. Motivate. This is live, although you asked that question like an hour ago. So I don't know if you'll be excited about that answer, but there you go. What is the cheapest VTX that works with the Walksnail Goggle X? The thing is, the Walksnail Goggle X, it works with Walksnail video transmitters. There's no competition on price. So it's not like we're going to find some manufacturer making a compatible VTX for a low price. You go to the CADX page and you look at the Walksnail VTXs and you pick the one that works for you. That's it. That's your choice. Mark FPV wants to know, can a lightweight 8-inch drone make a difference in flight time compared to the Chimera 7 Pro V2? Yes. Going from a 7.5-inch to an 8-inch prop will improve your flight time, and reducing weight always improves your flight time, pretty much. It just decreases your durability. So the short answer to your question is yes, absolutely. Have you ever had a situation where a capacitor next to the terminal fell off while preparing the contact for soldering? No, personally, I have not had that happen. If that happened to you, one of two things happened. Number one, you accidentally swiped the capacitor with a soldering iron and you didn't realize it. Or number two, you applied so much heat that you heated up the board to the point where the solder holding the capacitor on melted. And that means you were working too slowly, or say applying too much heat, but for the big pads on an ESC, it's hard to apply too high of a heat. You just need to be able to get the job done before you overheat the whole board. If you are taking a long time and you can't get the solder to stick and the whole PCB is heating up, stop, let it cool down, or you're going to melt and you're going to flow something. Are camera gimbals the next big thing in FPV? No, because FPV needs durability, right? A big part of FPV is crashing. Now, I know that that's specifically freestyle and racing, and yes, people do long-range FPV and other stuff, but
like a lot of what people do when they talk about FPV is not long distance. That's relatively niche. So when you say FPV, I think of freestyle racing, hobby flying, and those people are crashing a lot or their drones are very small and so they don't have a gimbal. But I am very interested and excited to see this exist. The Caddx FPV gimbal. This is a either single axis, dual axis, or 3-axis gimbal. Very slick. I'm actually thinking about picking one of these up and putting it on my Argipilot bird. Because with this plus a head tracker, seems like it'd be very interesting. Or on a vehicle. What is this? Oh, no. I want to see this mount. What's this mount? Hold on. What's that vehicle mount? Please, can I see that vehicle mount more closer? No. Oh, Caddx, you're teasing me. Is that a product? I want to see that vehicle mount. Right here. That's a product. Where is that? How can I buy that? No, look, there's plugs right here. It's not just a 3D printed mount. What are these plugs? Those are plugs. That's a product. I want to know about that. Anyway. This is cool. I don't think it's like the next big thing in FPV, but it is pretty cool. And I might pick one up. I want to get this question from Jason Aviator. Where is this question from Jason? Does software continue to support DJI Vista equipped drones? I have several Vista equipped drones. If I update the DJI software to the current version, can I fly them with the Goggles 2 Integra and the DJI RC controller? So if you want to fly the Vista with the Goggles 2 and the Integra, you need to update the firmware on the Vista, okay? And when you do that, oh, here's a great chart from Xscape, rather than me trying to describe it. Thank you, Xscape, for this chart. Let's just put this up on stream. So let's see. We're working with the Vista, and we want compatibility with the Goggles 2 and Integra, so we need to be here. Firmware 0100. Yes, that's correct. Is it compatible with the remote controller 2? Yes, it is. So if you're using the Goggles 2 or the Integra and you update the firmware on the Vista to 01010000, then you can use the DJI remote controller 2. You can. That is correct. What a great chart. The chart's not correct, though, because you can use the Goggles 2 and the Integra with a Cosmo streamer. And I think, isn't that Magic Packet? I don't know. This should also say Cosmo streamer over here on the right, because I can confirm it does work. Oh, you want to paste it in the chat? It's a Discord link. And thank you, Jason Aviator, for being a patron and being on the Discord server. Let's see here. Got a couple of new super chats that have come in.
Don't forget to switch camera.
Oh, thank you, Blunty. New to the hobby, I'm currently using the Meteor 75P with Betaflight 3 goggles. Beta FPV goggles. Is it a case of upgrading goggles to improve picture quality? No, I mean, analog is going to look like analog no matter what you do. Some analog looks worse than others.
So better goggles and a better receiver and better antennas will improve the quality of the analog, but ultimately it's not going to look like, high definition. Analog's only going to look so good. Yeah, we have a similar question from RC Dude here. Does the quality of analog video get better with more screen resolution? No. Analog is about 540p resolution, roughly. So once you've got like a 640 screen, more resolution doesn't really help you. Will McGregor, thank you for £5. Best cheap motor 4-basher quad. I have 2207 Zing 2650 on the other quad. I want to go 6S and be reasonably priced and in stock in the US. Well, we just looked at the iFlight Nazgul Eco for about $200. It ships from China, so it's available in the UK and Europe as well, and probably similar pricing. So seems like a pretty good deal. Brandon English, thanks for a $5 super chat. Brandon English asks, I had a 250 5-inch. I had to solder new motors in, and now I'm getting no startup tones and won't spin up in Betaflight with no arming flags. Any ideas? Well, you soldered new motors in, and now you're not getting startup tones. That means that the ESC is not alive. So what did you do while you were soldering in the motors to kill the ESC? Like, if the ESC is getting power at all, then you'll hear the doo-doo-doo, the first part of the tones. So when you plug in battery, does the flight controller power up? Does the video transmitter power up? If nothing powers up when you plug in the battery, it means like the whole quad isn't getting power. So something's wrong with the battery lead. But if everything powers up, but the ESC is still dead, I think it seems like you might have done something to it while you were soldering. I don't know. It's pretty special if you killed all 4 of the ESCs on the 4-in-1. But I don't think you actually did that.
It's extremely unlikely. So
I agree.
Did you also flash Betaflight?
Right. What else did you do? That's the question.
Yeah.
You say you soldered new motors in. You changed something else. Well, he would have to flash the ESC, though, Blunty, to kill the startup tones.
No, but you'd flash Betaflight and it wouldn't have startup tone. Like if he's not thinking about the first 3, if he's just saying if he's saying the last 2 are missing and Betaflight won't work with no arm flags, then that's going to be the new issue in 4.5 where you have to shut off bitbang.
So the first question is, are you getting any startup tones at all? Are you getting doo-doo-doot but not doo-doot? Or are you getting literally nothing when you plug in the ESC? You would get no motor tones, but you would still get doo-doo-doot. Doo-doo-doot. He says, no tones at all. My instinct was right. Suck it.
Then,
no, you're right. I appreciate your input. I appreciate
you really mess up. I don't understand how that would have happened.
Yeah, there's no way that you soldered on new motors and you killed all 4 of the ESCs to the point where they don't even make the tones.
Just to explain why is because you're soldering to the power side. Right. So you're setting basically you're wiring to the FETs, to outputs of the FETs.
Yeah.
So you're doing that in 12 places. But there are 4 sets. So there's 3, or I guess 6 FETs. So whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, there's a set of FETs for each section of the board.
Right.
So you would have had to mess up 4 separate sections of the board, or somehow gone over to the power feed for the whole board, or messed up the MCU's flow, or you know what I mean? There's a lot of issues you have to have.
Even if you got one phase of one motor correct, you would get some beeping. So the chances that this is a soldering error
would be active to fire.
Yeah. So what did you do that you're not telling us something? We need to get the truth from you. Your story doesn't add up.
Don't solder on the MCU.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That doesn't work right because there's 4 MCUs. So yeah, just very confusing.
Yeah. Something doesn't add up here. I watched this video the other day. It's this body cam video. This trooper pulls his truck over, and the truck has drugs in it, ultimately. And so the trooper is like asking the driver, so, you know, oh, let me see your log. They're going through the driver's logs, and the driver's logs like don't add up. It's like, okay, so you went here and then you spent the time here and then you drove here, but you couldn't have driven from there to there in that amount of time. There's all kinds of inconsistencies in the driver's log. And I feel like that now. It's like, what? Your story's not adding up, sir.
And just in case, just so you understand, like, we're obviously, like, we're joking a little bit, but we're also just trying to be clear that, like, the information that you've provided is missing something, or you've, like, have a 1 in whatever chance that's crazy and very unlikely.
Our ultimate goal is to help you solve your problem, but sometimes we'll make fun of you a little bit along the way. But, like, what you should take from this is, if you soldered your motors on and now you get no ESC beeps whatsoever, that's a really unlikely outcome from soldering your motors on. So something else happened, and your job is to figure out what that is. And so you can fix your problem. Okay. Paperboy the Aviator wants to know, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's the best computer to handle Sims well? My laptop will load them up, but it runs so slow. To be honest with you, Paperboy, I don't think you need a very powerful gaming computer, but you do need a gaming computer. You need something with a discrete graphics card. So if you have a laptop that doesn't have a discrete graphics card, or it has a really old graphics card, then that may be your problem. But if, like, you say, what's the best computer? I'm not here to, like, spec a computer for you, okay? Like, that's not my area. But, like, when I bought a gaming computer for my son, I just, like, went to Amazon and I was just like, gaming computer. And I found one that had like halfway decent reviews and wasn't too expensive. And like, it was, at the time, it was more than enough to do whatever he wanted to do. Nowadays, it's a little long in the tooth. And it's not quite as able to keep up as it was. But like, simulators are not that graphically intensive. And pretty much any gaming computer will run them. So like, yeah.
I have two things I would recommend. A couple things I would recommend.
Yeah.
One is any of these simulators will have a minimum requirement and a recommended requirement to run the game. So you probably want to go look at those and make sure you're getting something over that spec. The other thing is this hobby, because of what you have to do to get into it, makes people very technically savvy that are part of it. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the best hobbies that you could be in, to ask other people what to buy or how to build it. So if you just join like Joshua's Discord, or if you go on Facebook on one of the groups that seems like a good group to ask in, make sure you're in the right place so you don't get trashed by a bunch of people on the internet. But, if you ask people that, I'm sure people can help you find something that matches your budget, is what you're looking for. Maybe you need it for other things, that sort of thing. So, and the last thing is that as long as you can run the sim, I think, one of the most important things can be frame rate.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it really can help, reduce nausea, get you a little lower latency, like that sort of thing. So
yeah, you want minimum 60 FPS, and that frame rate. A lot of sims will feel smoother if you're having higher than 60 FPS, even if your screen is only 60 FPS. So you're rendering frames that don't show up on screen. You want to unlock that frame rate and let it run as fast as it can, and a lot of sims will feel smoother when you do that. So, George Watts, thank you for £5. Just a general thank you. Your videos got me up in the air back in 2008. Keep on smashing it. I intend to keep on smashing it. I don't know what it is. I used to be with it. Then they changed what it was. Now, what's it is scary and weird. What's that quote? But thank you. I will attempt to keep smashing it. O-Skill Tech, thanks for €10 super chat. New to FPV, will switch from analog to digital. Should I go with DJI or Walksnail for freestyle and cinematic with GoPro? DJI goggles €650, Walksnail €530. Ah, flip, man. I don't know. Like, I don't think there's any question that the O3 has better performance than Walksnail. Not by a lot, but I think it's a clear, you look at the error bars and DJI is just clearly just a little bit better in terms of image quality, range, and penetration. However, Walksnail is very good and way more versatile. So DJI, you've got the O3. Suck it. That's what you get. Don't like it? Tough. Walksnail, you've got a 1S video transmitter. You've got all kinds of different stuff. Walksnail's way more versatile. It's just not quite as polished. And I think that Walksnail, the quality of the hardware is lower than DJI. DJI manufactures very, very good quality, reliable, consistent hardware. Walksnail, I think it's not quite there. And so I think you're a little more likely with Walksnail to be like, crap, I killed a video transmitter, whereas DJI just kind of seems to keep bouncing back. But either could be usable. I think that you have to just check your gut about how you feel about kind of being locked into the DJI ecosystem versus being sort of, well, I guess technically you're locked into the Walksnail ecosystem, but it's a little bit more flexible of an ecosystem. Big Wave Dave, thank you for a $10 super chat. If I plan to fly the Avata 2, should I buy the Remote 2 and practice on a sim or buy an RTF kit to practice both? I've heard the gimbals on the DJI Remote are unique, so I don't want to get used to the wrong RC. The Avata 2, you can't buy the Avata 2 by itself yet. At least you couldn't. I don't know if you suddenly can. So if you buy but the Avata 2 has unlocked compatibility with the Remote 2. Blunty, can you confirm? I believe we reported that on the news.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
I'll double check.
Yeah, so when the Avata 2 is available to purchase on its own, if you have a Remote 2, it will work with it. So you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. But, like, if you're going to buy the Avata 2 anyway, why not buy the Avata 2 kit that comes with the Remote 3? And then just fly it. The Remote 3 still works with the simulator, I believe. I think I tested that. So, yeah. Why not just buy the Avata 2? And it'll come with everything you need. Good to go. People are sending me links to the Avata 2. I know that the SKU is out there. I wasn't aware that anybody actually had it, that you could buy it. No, see, it says reserve now, estimated availability 2 to 4 weeks. That's what I'm talking about. You can't buy it. You can reserve it, and maybe in 2 to 4 weeks they'll ship it to you, or maybe not. But today, you can't get it. Brandon Beans says that he did get one shipped to him. I don't know where from. Sounds like you soon be able to get it. But if you're starting... I guess the problem is, if you buy the combo, it comes with a motion controller, and you may not actually want that, although I kind of thought the motion controller was pretty cool. Madstag, thank you for a $5 super chat. Yay, Return of the King. It's very generous of you, sir. Thank you. Now I can stop listening to monkey porn and white noise when not shilling for Cadex or making clickbait anti-Walksnail videos. You don't let that shit get to you, man. Don't let that shit get to you. You're being sarcastic, but when I make sarcastic comments like that, it means that the comments are getting to me a little bit, and sarcasm is my kind of way of brushing it off. But don't let it get to you. Just make the content you make and ignore the haters. I know that's easy to say. I know I've been at times in my life when I was consumed by engaging with the haters. And you know, I get that. You're doing fine, man. You don't need to worry about them. It's like, yeah, don't worry about them. You just got to be okay with the content you're making. You got to just have a good enough self-awareness to make a judgment over whether you have done the right or done wrong. It's really weird because, like, you know, in life, when someone comes to you and says, hey, I don't like that thing you did, it takes a lot of maturity to evaluate, is this person just a freaking idiot who I could just completely ignore and F off? Or is this person telling me something I need to hear? And it's especially hard when you're a content creator because there are an infinite number of people, it seems, who want to tell you how much they dislike the thing you did. And there's no way to really know whether you agree with their perspective or values or whether, you know, you just ignore them because you don't agree with their perspective of values and you're just going to do your thing. So it's tough. But, you know, you're good. You're making good content, man. Keep it up. I don't think he's shill. I definitely don't think he's shill. That's for sure. El Chingon FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Do you know of any toothpick quad with split 4K besides the Happy Model 7 HD? Split 4K? You mean recording 4K onboard but analog to the goggles?
He wanted to add or whoop. Toothpick or whoop.
What is it? Who even makes a split analog like Runcam Split or Caddx Tarsier? Who even makes a quad with that on it these days? Does anyone?
He says they have Model 7 HD 1S, so presumably that still does. But I have no idea.
I don't think so. I think this guy's loony. Let's find out. Happy Model 7 HD, 1080p HD DVR. Oh, no, he's not. He's kind of crazy. It's got 1080p HD DVR on board. And I guess, what's the VTX? Wow. What's the VTX? Runcam Split 3. No shit. No shit. Well, I'm amazed. No, I didn't even know this existed. So, no, I don't know if there's another one out there. I'm shocked that this still exists. Can you actually buy it? Is it like in stock? Wow. Fuck. I'm shocked. Nope, that's the one. There's not another one, that's for sure. Excuse me, Joseph Dahari. Joseph Dahari says he tunes into MadTech for the English accent and slang. MadTech is Welsh. I'm being so sanctimonious, I hope I'm right. I believe MadTech is Welsh. That is a Welsh accent. That is not an English accent.
I'm an American. It's all English to me.
It matters to me. It matters to me. The Welsh are a unique and distinct people. Believe me, ask any Englishman whether they think they're the same as the Welsh. The entirety of my exposure to Wales. The entirety of my exposure to Wales comes from my child, my oldest son, 10 years ago, watching Fireman Sam, which is a kids show about a fireman from Wales. It's a Welsh show. Oh, that's not a great picture. I'm not going to click on an episode because I don't want to get copyright struck, but I found this show to be very charming, and therefore I found that the portrait of Wales that it painted to be quite enjoyable. I enjoyed all their little Welsh accents, and I feel like it was great ambassadorship for the country of Wales. And then I met Madstech, and he's also delightful, and so that's 2 for 2. So far, every time I have noticed Wales in my life, I've enjoyed it. So I can only assume good things about Wales. Any recommendation for a Cinelifter frame? Asks Carlos Rubio. Thank you for €2. Not really. Like Luminaire makes a Cinelifter frame. Andy Shen Drones makes a Cinelifter frame. iFlight makes a Cinelifter frame. There are lots of people make Cinelifter frames. I don't really fly Cinelifters and don't have a strong opinion about which one's better or worse than the other, and I would hesitate to make a recommendation based on not having any experience with them. If I wanted to get a Cinelifter now, what I would do is I would look at a cinematic pilot whose opinion I trusted. I would go look at what Evan Turner flies, or I would go look at what Alex Vanover flies, or I would go look at what Johnny FPV flies. And I would think, I would look at them, I would look at the price, and I would just pick one and build it, you know? But I don't have a reason, I don't have a recommendation. No. Sorry. Paul Nurkala, good. Thank you, Terminal Insanity. Pontipandi. That's right, it was Pontipandi. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. What budget motors should I get for freestyle around buildings and concrete? The short answer is, in my opinion, you should buy inexpensive motors if you're going to be going hard in concrete, because no matter how expensive a motor is, when you smash it into the concrete at 70 miles an hour, it will probably break. That doesn't mean that all motors are equally durable. Some motors are more durable than others, but generally when you spend twice as much for a motor, you are not getting a motor that's twice as durable. You do not break even there. And no matter how well made and good quality and good performing the motor is, when you destroy it, doesn't matter. None of that, all that goes out the window. So if you're a hard bando flyer, my personal opinion is that you buy inexpensive motors that are good enough, but that you're not going to like cry when you have to replace them, because you will have to replace them. I think the Emax Eco are a great choice. They're not too expensive and they're pretty good quality. That's usually what I recommend people get when they want budget motors. T-Motor Velox is another potential motor. T-Motor Velox aren't bad. Bot Grinder, how much are Bot Grinder's motors? Bot Grinder goes hard. What's his motor doing right now? TBS Grinder. 20 bucks. Yeah, I can't argue with that. TBS Grinder, Bot Grinder's motor, 20 bucks. That's probably half decent. What's the Eco 20? See, Eco is such a competitive motor. Like, you look at something like this Grinder 2207. Well, the Eco's not a Unibel either. Well, I don't know. Another one is the iFlight Zing E. Zing E. Not the Zing E Pro, just the regular Zing E. Zing E Pro is also good. Zing E. Do they still make the Zing E? No, it's just the Zing E Pro. All right, fine. 15. See, look at this. iFlight Zing E Pro, 15 bucks. Frickin' Unibel for 15 bucks. Shut up. Right? iFlight, really, I think it's the volume. That's why they're able to offer so much quality at such a low price. I think they just sell so many drones that they can afford to make stuff in large quantity, and it saves them money. The Zing E Pro is a frickin', it's an $18 or $20 motor all day long selling for 15 bucks. You know? Not everybody's going to love it. Some people are going to complain about it, but like, not a Unibel. I don't know. Those are some choices. T-Motor Velox, Emax Eco, TBS Grinder, iFlight Zing E Pro. Good choices for budget motors that you can smash and not cry when they break.
Gotta change that screen.
Thanks, Blunty. Appreciate it. Would you say the Mobula 6 2024 is the best tiny whip to get for a beginner? Yeah. Like, if you gotta, just force me to yes, no. Yep. Yeah. It's pretty good. How can I extend the range of my 5.8 gigahertz analog video system? I should have brought down a drink before I started the stream. That's my bad. I'm going to tough it out. I'm using an 800 milliwatt VTX, and my VRX has a Bandicoot linear patch antenna and a Foxeer Pagoda. Get a higher powered VTX, 800 milliwatts, go up to one of the 1.6 or 2.5 watt VTXs. Also, if you have a linear antenna on the goggles, then you also need a linear antenna on the quad for best performance. How do I figure out what props I would want for my quad? It's a 5-inch 2207. Honestly, you could pick essentially any 5-inch prop, and it will be okay. So, like, different props have different characteristics. Like a 4.9-inch prop is going to feel a little different than a 5.1-inch prop. And a high-pitch prop is going to feel a little different than a low-pitch prop. But the beauty is that these are subtle differences, and especially if you're a beginner who kind of doesn't know what you're doing, just find a prop that kind of seems right to you, buy it. When you're buying stuff from a store, buy a couple different 5-inch props, 4.9, 5.1, it's all the same thing. They're all 5-inch class props. Don't go down to like a 4-inch prop. That's different. Don't go up to a 6-inch prop. But anything in the 4.9 to 5.1 inch range, that motor can handle. And just spend $4 on a bag of some other prop and try them out and see how they feel. Ronan 11B. I love it when people do this. Where's the message? Am I filtering? I am filtering. Oh, there we go. Ronan says there is literally no video on the internet explaining how to wire a battery to an O3 FPV kit for DIY use. Zero! You're almost right. I put a Vista on an RC car, but okay, that's not the same. That's not an O3. You're right. I know that I saw someone do it, though. Who did it? Somebody did it. Was it this guy? RC car adventure, RC car long range driving.
You hook DC power up to the positive and negative with a battery that's in the voltage spec. There you go.
I know. He wants to see somebody do it.
It's just like...
Yeah, literally, the battery, the O3 takes from 2S to 6S. So literally, all you have to do is connect the red and the black wire to your battery. It's not rocket science. You also, though, it won't go to full power unless you use that Arduino thing, right?
Yeah, you need a flight controller to be dummy, or you would need a Arduino to...
It was Chad Rains. Chad Rains did it. Where did he do it? The O3 armor. So yeah, so like, here's the first thing you need. If you're gonna do it, all right, like on an RC car, you need the O3 armor, which tricks the O3 into thinking there's a flight controller there and lets it go to full power. So that's the first thing you need, and he shows how to set it up. So that's the one. The other thing you need is, where does he show how he set up the O3? I know he showed setting it up. DIY robot brain. No. Ah, come on. I know it's out there. World's smallest FPV RC car. Oh, man. These are all... This is not his build. Dang it. Chad Rains. Where is it? Okay, well, where I'm going to steer you is this video. Finally releasing my first project on YouTube, the O3 Armor by Chad Rains FPV. This product is specifically intended to make O3 work on like a car. As far as the wiring goes, it's very freaking simple. In fact, does the O3 armor have a built-in? It may be even smarter. Yes. Oh, yeah. This has the power circuitry built in. Dude, this is what you need. This is the thing you said that didn't exist on the internet. Of course it exists. All right. Yeah, that's where we're going. Okay? Okay. I love it when people say, this doesn't exist, and I can immediately prove them wrong and help them, but also sound smarter than them at the same time. That's the entire basis of my career, by the way. It's 50-50 helping people so I feel like a good person, but also being smarter than them so my ego is soothed. And together, those things have worked out for me. So when someone says, nobody's made a video about how to do X, I'm like, yes, they have. You're wrong. And I'm about to prove that you're wrong and be smarter than you and also help you. Huh? See, if I were just an asshole who was just like, you're wrong. I'm smarter than you. You're all stupid. And that's no way to live. But what you do is, it's like, it's like peanut butter and chocolate, right? You then turn that narcissism into, and I'm going to help you solve your problems, and then you're a good person. You get away with it. I can't fix my personality problems, but I can temper them. I can offset them. Mike Akeem, thank you for a $10 super chat. I bought your analog build kit, and when following your guide to assemble it, you did not use a capacitor. Yes, I did. I did. Keep going. It's at the end of the build series. I installed the capacitor in a later video, but I will install the capacitor. I don't remember why I did it that way, but there was a reason why I did it that way. It might have just been that I forgot or was lazy, but I will install the capacitor. It's later in the video. Michelle Tello 26 wants a first-time budget build. Guess what? Ho! The Joshua Bardwell Lumineer Beginner FY DIY drone kit. It's in stock. You can get the analog version, or you can get the HD ready version, but you have to buy your own HD video transmitter. You can pick O3, Walksnail, or HD0. You choose the video transmitter that matches your goggles. And then what it is there's a build series that shows how to build it. This is the wrong one. This is the 2022 version. I'm sorry. Here is the 2023 version. Let me put it in the chat for you. We have a full build tutorial, including a bunch. Hello. Look at that handsome devil. Including a bunch of videos showing you how to build the whole thing. Okay? So that is, and it's in stock. It's been out of stock for a long time because I won't go into the details, but there were problems with the manufacturer. There were problems with one of the parts, and the factory was being a dick. That's the short version. So now there is a different factory who is not going to be a dick, and it's in stock, and hopefully will stay in stock more than it was. Do I have to pay import taxes if I buy your beginner kit? I'm from Europe. Yes, you do. Yes. Like, if you're in Europe, you're going to pay those taxes one way or the other. If you buy from a U.S. store, you're going to pay the customs directly. If you buy from a European store, the store will pay the customs when they import it, and they'll pass that cost on to you. It's a product that's manufactured in the U.S. It's sold in the U.S. If you want it in Europe, there's no way around paying import taxes on it. Sorry.
There's just no way around that, except to manufacture it in Europe, which we just, didn't do for hopefully obvious reasons. Haha. Got you this time, Blunty. We're coming to the end of the stream. We got about 15 minutes left. I might go a little longer, Blunty, just to make sure that, just because I've been gone so long, I might go a little longer. You up to go a little past 3 o'clock?
I'm here.
Awesome. Yeah, get some more content for the live stream clips channel, too. The frame is still out of stock, Escape. I acknowledge that. But the beginner build series is back in stock, and hopefully the frame will be back in stock soon. Hoss Corp says, I've got a 5-inch drone. I'm using beta FPV goggles with the SpeedyBee TX800 VTX, but I get meh video signal. Hoss Corp, first thing you do, make sure the SpeedyBee is unlocked. The SpeedyBee TX800 ships locked. If you didn't unlock it, it's at 25 milliwatts. Look at the LEDs on the SpeedyBee VTX and confirm that the power LED is indicating that it is unlocked and it is at max power. That's the first thing you should check. I don't know how meh your meh is. But that's my first guess as to what's wrong. Bacon Gaming asks, is the DJI Avata 2 worse than a normal drone, like an iFlight Nazgul? No, they're different. They're different. That's like asking if a pickup truck is worse than a sports car. Or, they're different tools for different jobs. If you want to fly freestyle, the Nazgul's better. If you want to fly cinematic, the Avata's better. James Reedy says, have you considered compiling a do not buy list? No. That's too much smoke for me. Generally, if there is a bad product, I react to it by pretending it doesn't exist. Very, very seldom in my life has a product been so bad that I have just roasted it. Here's one.
Is that good? That's good.
No, that's the wrong one. Wow. What was it? What was the goggle that lied about the resolution of the screens? It wasn't FlySight. No. Wow.
Speaking of that, do you know about the Sky Zone thing?
The problem, they changed the resolution?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Like, I don't
For
like,
people
know.
that don't know, the 040 and I believe the 04X V2 list is 1080, but they're actually 720 because they can't pipe 1080 to the goggles through the HDMI system.
The screen is 1080.
Yeah.
And if you're doing analog, the screen is 1080, but who cares because analog doesn't benefit from the increased resolution. But if you use the HDMI input, it's only 720, even though the screen is 1080. So it's kind of a misleading spec. I found it. Would you say it's misleading, Blunty, at best?
Yeah, it should be listed, and I think they are changing it on a lot of the listings, but it should definitely be listed on the listing.
Yeah, because people want to do 1080 input from like Walksnail and they can't.
Well, it was incorrect. Yeah, they thought it could, and then found out it couldn't after selling it. You know what I mean?
So this is my review of the Top Sky Prime 1S. Top Sky made a couple attempts to make FPV goggles. Every single one of them was trash, and the problem is that
people see an inexpensive FPV goggle and they think, oh, I'll take a punt. It's $100, $120, whatever. They're like, oh, I'll try it out. These were so bad that I just released videos roasting them and saying, essentially, don't buy them. Check this out. This is a long time ago. Let's be clear about this. This means that they made prototypes, tested the prototypes, did not catch this mistake. LH240HV. LH240HV? 240?
21. There are 21 rows of pixels in the battery symbol on the DVR. The screen is 13.7 batteries tall times 21 pixels is 288. There's no way this is a 640 by 480 screen.
Folks, we gotta have a little talk before. Yeah, so they lied about their specs, and they had shitty quality, build quality. Just, it was so bad, so many different ways. And I just released this video absolutely roasting these guys and being like, this is trash. Trash. So, very seldom do I do that, though, because generally, here's my thought. If a product, number one, it's hard to know if a product is legitimately bad or like if, I don't know, like sometimes you just get bad luck. Like people say the SpeedyBee flight controller is terrible. SpeedyBee ESC is terrible. But SpeedyBee is by far, like, a Betaflight dev, Betaflight devs keep track of statistics. Like when you flash a target, they keep track of what targets are getting flashed. So the Betaflight devs know approximately how often certain targets get flashed, and so you can infer how popular that flight controller is. Certainly you could argue, well, maybe people with a certain flight controller just flash more often. Okay, who knows? But SpeedyBee, like I've also talked to stores that sell SpeedyBee flight controllers. I'm not going to name names and I'm not going to release specific numbers because that would be inappropriate. But there are way more SpeedyBee flight controllers and ESCs in the world than any other flight controller and ESC. Let's put it that way. By like a healthy margin. Okay? Fair enough. So when people say, SpeedyBee ESCs, they die so often, is that just because they're the most popular one by several orders? Right? If there are 5 times as many SpeedyBee ESCs in the world than any other single ESC, then you would expect to see 5 times as many bad ESCs if the defect rate was the same. Now, okay, fine, Joshua, but I know a guy, and he bought 5 SpeedyBee ESCs, and every single one of them died. How do you explain that? That's a 100% failure rate. Hey, Blunty, you be the bad guy here. How do you explain that, Blunty?
I'm sorry, I'm doing stuff.
Hey, Blunty, if there's a guy who has 5 dead SpeedyBee ESCs, well, clearly that means the ESCs are defective, right? Or is there another explanation?
Yeah, I mean, the general consensus would be that you killed them.
Right. Like, so and I say, Blunty, you be the bad guy because I don't want to like point fingers at any specific person and say you're screwing up your ESCs, but you have to consider that as a possibility, right? So my point is, we're going back to the original question. Would I make a list of bad products that no one should buy? No matter, it's really hard to get to a point where I go, this product is bad and deserves to be blacklisted. Even when people are on the internet screaming, I'm like, is it? Or is this just like 3 people who had a bad luck and are making a lot of noise? Another product that I blacklisted, I didn't make a video roasting it, but I mentally blacklisted the Beta FPV light radio. The Beta FPV light radio, the gimbals on the light radio, the soldering of the wires to the gimbals was 1,000% defective. I knew one person. They contacted me. They had a education program in a school, and they bought like 20 light radios for their Beta FPV micro quads and they said every single one of them the gimbals failed. I got email after email after email of people talking about how their gimbals failed, and finally I went, okay, the preponderance of evidence is in. This is just a bad product. It's defective. But here's the other side of it. Let's say I blacklist that. I make a video. Beta FPV light radio, absolute garbage, do not buy. Well, 6 months from now, Beta FPV could fix it. Now what? Now I've nuked that whole product, like potentially forever. So if I make a blacklist where I say these products are bad, do not buy them under any circumstances, that removes the possibility that the vendor could improve the product and fix the problem. And I think that you have to be pretty far gone. So what I do, but what about the people who buy the product and waste their money? Don't they deserve better? Yes, absolutely. So the way that I try to sort of thread that needle is, if there's a bad product, I just ignore it. And when anybody asks, hey, I'm thinking about getting a controller, should I get the Beta FPV light radio? I say, don't get it. On a one-on-one basis, I will just say, do not buy that product. If someone asks me on a live stream, I'll say, do not buy that product. But I'm not going to go out there and have a list or a video just living out there in the ether, nuking this product. And then if it somehow improves, then if I take it off the list, no one's going to know. You see what I mean? So that's how I sort of thread that needle. Yeah. But the truth is, I very seldom get to the point where I go, this product is so bad. Because there's like 3 people saying, it's so bad, I bought this product, it sucks, And then you got 27 other people going, yeah, no, I love it, it's fine. And I'm like, I don't know. You know? You just don't know. Gadget RC, if you're looking for a quiet quadcopter, a 1S 3-inch toothpick with bi-blade props is a fantastic choice. Now, you're not going to get as much power out of a 1S as you would out of a 3S, but it's still plenty fun to fly, and just get really good quality 1S batteries, ideally with XT30 on them, although I'm not sure how available those are. The one that I had, I think Bob Ruge might have made it personally. Let's see here. Lovers FPV wants to know how to make a flight controller rely on GPS data only, not the barometer. I think
we have this video on the Clips channel.
Something like that. Do we? I can't
Pretty
remember
sure
if it's
this
the
like a
other
month
way
ago,
around.
2 months ago when I put it.
Okay.
I mean, either way, I think it's the same command works, right?
Let's look for Joshua Bardwell live stream clips. This is my live stream clips channel. Blunty actually cuts clips out of the live streams and puts them on the live stream clip channel. Some of them are fun or silly, but we can also search for specific questions. Bingo! How do I make Betaflight use my barrel for GPS Risco? But that's the other way. He wants to use the GPS, not the barrel. Let's see.
I think it's still that same command, though, right?
Let's find the command.
I
Set
timestamped
position
it, so we'll know.
outsource.
No. I typed the command. I have it in the bottom there.
Where?
So you got to go to the timestamp with the solution.
The correct answer. Oh, I gave the wrong answer first. That sounds like something I would do.
Source, okay. Let's look at that one. Get altitude.
Oh, bingo! Altitude source. Bingo! Plenty. Thank you so much. Altitude source. Oh. Well, ain't I smart? Yeah, that makes more sense. What? Okay, so what you do is you type set altitude source equals GPS only. Bingo! That is a Betaflight thing. I assume you're talking about Betaflight, but maybe I'm wrong. Bingo. Well done. Thank you, Blunty. See how useful the Livestream Clips channel is? If you only have Blunty to help you.
It helps to be the one to pull the clips.
Yeah, right? What size drone is the sweet spot for a sub 250 build? Yes. We talked about this earlier in the stream, but it's an easy question to answer, so I will grab it. Rainier, 3.5 inch to 3 inch is the sweet spot for a sub 250 build. And like the GepRC domain is one to look at. There's an Axis flying 3.6 inch now. Those are all potential choices. 1S with an XT30 plug. How would this work? Don't you mean A30? No, I said XT30. I meant XT30. For Bob Rugi's toothpick, when Bob Rugi years ago gifted me a 1S toothpick that he built so I could try it out because he thought I would like it. I made a video about it. And there's a 1S battery with an XT30. Well, why would that not work? Of course that would work. Now, these days, there are other connectors like BT 2.0 and A30, which some people might think would be better, but there's additional weight, but the XT30 has even less resistance. So, can you buy one? Yeah, you freaking well can. Hallelujah. Yeah, you can buy them, like here from Pyrodrone, 1S batteries with XT30 connector. So if I was going to fly a 1S toothpick on 3 inch, I would be getting something like this. I think for a 3 inch, the extra weight of the XT30 is worth it, and you get less voltage drop than even an A30 or a BT 2.0. That's the kind of battery I would be looking at. Might even go a little bigger than the 660 if I could find one. Taka, I don't think that the question is, will digital drop in price enough to compete with analog? No. Nope. No. 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 I don't see it happening. The reason analog is so inexpensive is because of how ubiquitous it is. Every analog video transmitter uses the same chip inside. Every analog video receiver uses one of a couple chips. And right now, if you look at digital, all of the different digital systems use different chips, different SoCs, different video encoders, different baseband modems, blah, 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 blah. They're all using different hardware. So number one, digital will never achieve the economy of scale that analog did. Because when analog came to prominence, it was the only standard. Okay? Yes, there's NTSC and PAL. Okay, so those are technically different analog video standards, but they're all using the same hardware underneath. So analog, we fortunately lived in a world where basically all the hardware used the exact, all the equipment used the exact same hardware. And that allowed an economy of scale. Also, analog is based on technology that is 50 years old. Now, I'm not saying the actual rich wave chip that's used in the analog devices is 50 years. I don't know how old it is, but it's old. And it's just been the same thing for years and years and years and years and years. So it's commoditized. Analog is commoditized in a way that digital never will be, because digital, every time there's a new DJI Vista 03, 04, there's new SoC, a different chip. It's all faster. It's all better. We're never going to reach a point with digital because digital is, number one, competitive between different manufacturers, and number two, iterative over generations. It is improving and improving and improving in a way that analog never did. So digital will never reach the economies of scale that analog did. And digital will never reach this stable, commoditized nature where the chip has just been around forever and it's just, 5 cents a piece or whatever. Digital's not going to get to that point. So digital will never come down in price enough to compete with analog. And number 3, even if digital did theoretically reach that point, why would they sell it for cheaper? It's better. There will always be a market-based reason to sell digital for a little bit more than analog because it's better image quality. So even if the cost was the same, nobody would sell it for the same price because they would want to make the profits. Probably. Blunty points out that the Richwave chip launched in 2009. That's further away than it feels like it ought to be. I'll tell you what, though. I've had the thought. I'm gonna admit this to you on the stream, because you come here for the unfiltered, unvarnished truth. I've had the thought. There's like 2.5 watt video transmitters out there now, analog. And I've thought to myself, how good is analog these days? I haven't had a primarily analog quad in a long time. How good is it these days? Like, would 2.5 watt analog, that's a lot of power compared to digital. If I were to go back and build an analog quad with one of these modern high-power VTXs, would I be like, digital? Digital's a pain in the ass, and it's expensive. The simplicity of analog has, it's kind of, like, I don't know if I've, like, you go, oh, there's a new thing. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, I'm so tired of this bullshit. And then you go back, right? Return to monkey is what I'm saying. Return to monkey. I've thought maybe I should do an analog build. Probably won't return to monkey, but it's tempting.
All I can think about is reflections and rainbow and no retransmission and no compression and yeah.
Shut up, Lindsay. Shut up. I don't want to. That's not. What? But yeah, but 2.5 watts. All that will be fixed by my massive output power.
Yes, fixed. I'm sure.
I don't know. I had the thought. Do you know any news on BL Heli 32 offline updating? Yeah, you can't do it. The news is you can't do it. You can't do it.
Yep, we got like a tinge of a hint of a reply from the dev in the GitHub, and then did not reply again. He said they were working on something.
Oh.
He said they were working on something, and that was like weeks ago at this point, I believe. So nothing has happened.
Call me crazy, and I'm not the first one to come up with this idea. I don't claim this idea, but like the issue is that the bootloader is locked. So couldn't the BL Heli devs release that make it possible so you can go into BL Heli Suite, you can flash something to it that erases the chip and unlocks the bootloader, so you then could or even they could make it install the AM32 bootloader. So you could then switch from BL Heli 32 to AM32 without having to go through all that bullshit with the ST-Link flashing. Couldn't they do that? I think they could.
Well, I'll say I don't know if they can do that or not, but like from their perspective,
yeah,
we don't know what happened with them. But the way the message to me reads, there's not like if you're in trouble for what they claim they're in trouble for or going to be in trouble for, right?
Right.
Like which is providing software to make hardware work in wartime situations or whatever, right?
But aren't they
then allowing them to do more things with that hardware by unlocking and removing the bootloader, is doing more to help them, right?
But-
you have to cut off. That's what I would think.
Why would they? Yeah.
We told you to cut off, and look what you did. You released another update to free up this hardware so people could put better hardware on it.
But the hardware's already working. The hardware's working.
I understand there's a logical
if they
argument.
unlocked the bootloader, they're not like the kind of people who they're worried about are not flashing new hardware to these new firmware to these drones. They have working ESCs. They're taking those ESCs, they're putting them into drones, and they're flying them one way, and they're not coming back. So they're not affecting that market in any way by releasing. And essentially, what the firmware would do is erase the ESC and make it non-functional. So it would be taking the ESC from a functional state to a non-functional state. I don't see. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
One way to
there's
look
no
at it.
there's no way to know what they're up against.
The other way to look at it is saying like, oh, you have 3210 has a bug that's going to fry your ESC, so now you can unlock it and use the thing you couldn't use before. You know what I mean? Like,
but they have an obligation to their customers too. That's the thing that bugs me the most. Like,
no country's going to care about that.
That's not true. This is European Union. The European Union cares a lot about that.
If the people in the suits from the government came to you and told you to do this, then they're not going to care. That's what
I don't think
saying.
that happened. I don't think that happened.
That's fair enough. I mean, we can't know what happened, but like the way they're treating it, that certainly seems like what's happened. Well, why wouldn't you gracefully bail out instead of just bailing out? That makes no sense to me.
Do you want me to? This is okay. I want to be clear that sometimes when you're having an argument, you speculate about possibilities just for the sake of sort of laying out the breadth of what might have happened. And I want to be clear that I'm not arguing that this happened, but just hypothetically, here's something that might have happened. What if they had a crisis of conscience and they said, I don't like the fact that our technology is being used in this way, and we're going to shut down the company. And then they needed an excuse, and they made up that excuse. I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying that's a possible thing that could have happened.
But what I'm saying is,
if that happened, then there's no scary government man in a suit saying, we're going to shut you down. You're going to go to jail.
But do you think they magically got a conscience overnight and then decided to stop supporting?
There's always,
you know what I mean? Like,
there's always a moment. There's always a moment where you make that decision, and today's the day. I don't know when they got I'm saying if that happened, then today was the day when it happened. It could have been yesterday, it could have been tomorrow. Maybe it was coming for 6 months, and they were like uncomfortable, but they didn't know what to do. And then finally, one of them woke up and went, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore. And they shut the company down. I think that's plausible. I think it's plausible. I'm not arguing it's likely. I'm not arguing there's any evidence for it. But like, there's also no evidence that a government guy in a suit showed up on their doorstep and said, shut down your company. That didn't happen. No one's doing that. I'm sorry, I sound a little, I don't mean to, I retract the tone in which I took that. That was very disrespectful. You deserve better.
I don't think we can say nobody's doing that. It's Norway. It's not the U.S. I mean, in the U.S., I agree nobody's doing that. In Norway, I mean, it's not as loose as it is here.
No.
I mean, you can, I don't know.
Based on what it's possible.
There are way more business regulations there. I don't know. Like, I think that there's a lot more room for me to believe that it happened there versus here.
I feel like
because here it would be done in Congress.
Everywhere else in the world that has sanctions against the military use of civilian technology or dual use technology, it's trivially easy to check the box and then absolve yourself of responsibility. And I'm not saying like I'm not talking about freaking, missiles and body armor and night vision goggles. I'm not talking about like real like ITAR stuff. But I'm talking about like, hey, you guys, no selling drones to the military, you guys. All right. Okay. Please check this box to confirm you are not the military. Check box. Okay, good. Done. We see so many other companies and their technology is ending up on the battlefield.
And so, like, the fact that so many other countries continue to operate with way less plausible deniability than the BLE guys. Like, if they wanted to stay in business, could they have just geolocate the IP and lock out the entire Russian Federation? And they say, okay, we're doing our best. We will not sell ESCs, and we will not let ESCs flash from within the Russian Federation. Done. Oh, they can VPN. Oh, well, what can you do? You know, I feel like they could have done more or less if they wanted to stay in business. And it feels like they didn't want to stay in business. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I feel like there's parts of the story we're not getting. And I don't know if we'll ever know. But it's all speculation, because at the end of the day, right now it's gone, and it may be gone forever. And I think the safest thing is to assume that it's going to be gone forever, and then be pleasantly surprised if it turns out to be otherwise. I wish I could I wonder if they'd talk to me. I don't know. If I asked them to, like, hey guys, what happened?
I mean, I could basically guarantee you they won't talk to you, at least on the record. You don't put out a letter like that and then tell somebody something on the record.
You never know. Right?
Just saying, like, there's zero chance. That's why I haven't reached out. There's, like, we're not living in a fantasy world, you know?
They might.
Like, I don't know. And I don't
Never
know.
hurts to ask.
So multiple people in chat are saying Norway is socialist. They have control. The government has control over their businesses, and that they can do things like this. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's true for a lot of European countries.
And that's why I mean, it's like not like the U.S. Like, I could believe it in European countries. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I can believe somebody knocked on your door and said, "You got to stop doing this."
Oh, it's 1,000 times more likely in Europe than it is in the U.S. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. 1,000 times. But there's plenty of European countries. Like, why has SP Racing gotten a knock on the door? Has Orca got? Well, Orca's
how many
different.
People worked for BLHeli 32. Like,
I have no idea.
Did one person have a crisis of conscience? Like,
I don't know. I think it was two main devs, if I remember right. Now, I don't know about the company, but back in the day, it was two main guys.
Yeah. I mean, did one have control, or like? I don't know, because like crisis of conscience requires agreement, right? Or
yeah.
Or like.
Yeah. It's interesting. It would be really nice, because I feel like, practically speaking, you have an obligation to your customers, and practically speaking, what they have done has not in any way reduced the ability to use ESCs, even BLHeli ESCs, that they already exist. They're already out there, you know? So, like, could you have said, you know, I don't know. We're going in circles. It feels like there was a way to do this that accomplished the desired goal of not supporting a military action that you don't agree with, whether that's at the state level or the individual level, while still not just hanging their customers out to dry. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Lena Kviatkovskaya wants to know, are you aware of any way of putting ELRS TX power level on any switch? Yes, sort of. You can put the max... Well, no, not really. You can set the dynamic power to be tied to a switch position. So, like, you set the max power to 1 watt, and then when you flip the switch, it goes down to min power. But here's the reason it's not what you're hoping for. As soon as you arm, it goes to max power. Okay? That's been my experience. So that's useful for turning the power down when you're disarmed and you're like on the bench, but not while you're flying, I don't think. Yeah.
Is there a way to download black box files wirelessly? I think the SpeedyB adapter, if you have the SpeedyB V3 adapter, I think it can download over Wi-Fi. I got Betaflight Configurator to connect via ELRS. No. You can't you can connect the configurator over your ELRS connection, but you can't flash and you can't download Wi-Fi. That doesn't work. It's only the MSP commands. I think the CLI doesn't work either. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah. Wow. My quad self-flips itself after 20 to 30 seconds. All the Betaflight settings are okay. What's the problem? The Betaflight settings are not okay. One of the Betaflight...
He only crashed. He didn't do anything to change anything at all, and all he did was resolder a power lead that came off.
So he was flying. It was flying, so it's configured right.
Yes. So I told him I think an ESC is probably messed up then. I can't imagine what else would cause that. It's probably desyncing on an ESC.
He isn't saying he raises the throttle. The RPMs increase, even though he doesn't raise the throttle.
But the RPMs are going up, so the motor output's going up, right?
Yeah, but usually that doesn't happen until you crack the throttle the first time, right? It usually stays at idle until you crack the throttle, and it comes to life.
I mean, sure, I wouldn't be shocked if it was noisy, but that shouldn't mean it's flipping, right? Because it's arming. So
if it's bad enough that it flips. Yeah. That's wacky.
Is that true?
What?
If it's bad enough it flips? Because I thought it would just give you a calibration error.
Excuse me. If the gyro's bad, you won't necessarily get calib. I mean, I could imagine a situation where the gyro calibrates but still is bad enough that it causes an issue.
Okay. I would not have thought that's possible.
I wouldn't think the motors would run away until you crack the throttle the first time. I've never seen that. But I guess it's possible.
He said regardless, when he throttles up, it flips. Because I asked him if he just throttles up without waiting, it flips.
Yeah. So you got to go back. I don't know what happened, but like motor spinning the wrong direction, right? Clearly. Motor spinning wrong direction, props on wrong.
Yeah. My suggestion was, what if it's like, what if it's something like one of the motors are desyncing, so then it flips to the desynced motor, and then he's just thinking it's flipping, right?
Possible. All right.
If he truly didn't do anything, that's what.
Yeah. Your story's not checking out. I gotta get a drink soon. Madstech points out, interesting insight there, Madstech. The published accounts of BL Heli as a company, BL Heli AS, tells a clear story. Since the war started, their profit more than doubled. 2019, 2020. Oh, not so good in 2021. 2022, 2023. What is Driftsendecker? What's the y-axis here? What's our unit? Hang on, I'm gonna have to translate. Translate from auto detect. Man, camera. Let's see here. Total operating income. Operating result. Maybe that's total operating income. Is that euros? 9,000. That's got to be euros, right? Trying to figure out. Did they make 9,000 euros? That's not that fucking much. Oh, total amount of 1,000. Is this thousands? So it's actually 9 million, not 9,000? Someone who understands this chart. Is this 9 million euros or 9,000 euros? It can't be 9,000 euros.
Somebody said it's in kroner.
Oh, kroner. Well, fine. Is it 9 million kroner? Yeah, it's Norway. So it'd be kroner. 885. Oh, 9 million. Oh, that's not that much. 90,000.
That's
No, that's 900,000.
900.
Jesus Christ. There we go. 844,000. That's a fair amount of money. Assuming that beloop I hele 1,000 means that this is units of 1,000, then they were pulling $900,000 before they closed down. I don't know. Maybe we may never know. And that's how life is. Well, guys, that's going to bring us to the end of the stream.
We do have
Super chat?
Right?
Oh, shit. Thank you plenty. I hadn't thought that any super chats came in. We're in overtime. Hey, Bardwell, should I go Siren F5 Split or Apex Evo for premium freestyle capabilities? I don't really brash in concrete. That's a tough one. The F5 Split is a very clean and lightweight frame, but man, the Evo's got a lot going for it. Even if you don't bash in concrete, the Evo is, you're going to crash some of the time. That's a tough one. The F5 Split is really nice, though. That's tough. I don't know. Let me look at the Siren again. $75 versus the Evo. $100. It's not that much different. Boy, that's tough. What about the weight? I think the Split is
Just
lighter.
a reminder, you're on the wrong screen again.
Oh, Jesus. The Split, the Split is 105 grams versus the Evo. I think it's got to be more than that. I think the question is whether you want like a lightweight freestyle, a flicky lightweight freestyle quad, or it's not like heavy by any means, but it's a little heavier with a little more durability. I think I would take the Evo myself, but not by a lot. Peter asks, thank you for, gosh, 1,000 Hungarian florin. Got some secondhand R9 receivers. Seems like they're flashed with ERLRS. Is there any way to go back to R9? I think so, but Jesus, why? Why would you do that? I'm not going to help you do that. I think you could go back and forth. Is it a one-way trip?
I don't think you have the Frisky bootloader, but
FreeSky never published their bootloader?
I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. Maybe somebody in chat can tell us.
I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Even if you can, you shouldn't. So that's my final answer. It's been so long since I dealt with R9. Honestly. All right. Well, there you go. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for hanging around an extra half hour, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next live stream. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.